Imagine this. The best pasta sauce you have ever tasted sits abandoned on a plate. Wasted sauce. That is a tragedy. If only you had used Barilla al Bronzo pasta. Its bronze-cut texture holds your sauce and scoops up every last drop. The Italians call that scarpetta. Capture sauce the Italian way. Barilla al Bronzo. Click or tap the banner to find out more.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injuries and additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
This series contains adult language and descriptions of graphic violence. Listener discretion is advised. Hi, guys. Hello, hello. This is Death by Southwest. I do have true crime for you, and I'll publish it either after this or first thing tomorrow morning. Sometimes publishing two, it doesn't matter. But sometimes publishing two podcasts back to back can affect people's ability to find it or something, I've been told. I don't know if that's actually true. Not that many people are finding this anyways, so I probably shouldn't care about that. But hello. Happy Tuesday. I am here to talk about something that, I'm going to talk about before I lose my nerve to talk about. I debated talking about this. I did talk about it and share this on Patreon this morning, and I was like, well, Patreon are my people. I feel like they get me, they accept me and understand me and don't judge me, pretty much period, which is wonderful. And then I just got back from the doctor, and I don't know, it gave me some motivation to talk about this. But I want to say at the top of this could be very dividing for people. It could be upsetting for people. There's a very good chance that you won't like me anymore if you ever did, if you disagree with my actions or opinions on this. It's a tough topic for some people, and that's a chance I guess I'm willing to take. I went from never talking about anything political or controversial on here to now 2 weeks in a row. I'm just putting it out there, but that's how I'm kind of feeling lately. Like, this is me, and these are my opinions a little bit. Take it or leave it. And most of the time, I do make an effort when I'm telling a true crime story not to put my opinions on controversial topics in there, because that story is not about me at all. So my opinions don't matter much. And so I've tried to do a better job of leaving them out of that. But that's why I'm making this a separate episode from this week's true crime episode. So I woke up this morning and I was supposed to get my period on Friday. I think I recorded on Friday or recorded whatever the last long personal rant that I put out was. And I got emotional. And I think I said, I'm supposed to get my period, guys. I didn't. And I didn't this weekend, and I didn't yesterday. And so this morning I happened to have a pregnancy test laying around, and I thought, I'll take it. I'm way too old. We are careful. I track my period and ovulation, and we are careful because we don't want kids. Well, either we weren't careful enough or I don't know, Mark has super demon sperm, something. Anyways, I'm not going to talk about that. I am pregnant. And And I realize that this is kind of a personal thing to share. I feel like medical stuff is often kind of frowned upon, sharing it, or at least I haven't. Look, I've shared just about everything on here. I certainly share more on Patreon, but I do share quite a bit on the regular podcast, probably more than any true crime podcast host should. But if you've been listening for a while, you understand that while this is true crime and I am making a strong effort to keep Tuesdays or whatever, keep one day of the week very focused on true crime, inevitably I insert parts of my life into this. And I have episodes like this where I talk about personal things because for me, whenever I've gone through something in life or been dealing with something or struggling with something, hearing or reading about or watching someone else, whether it's a person who's actually going through that or just like a movie where the character is going through that, it helps. Doesn't make it better. It doesn't solve the problem necessarily, but it has always, made me feel less alone. And so I have to assume that that's perhaps the case for people out there. Um, and and while I don't want to put people off, I I am not. I am honest. I am honest. That sounded stupid. I want to be honest and I want to talk about this because I do think it's important. And I also think that it's possible to disagree with me or not feel the same way. And that's okay. You can still listen to me. You can still listen to the podcast. You certainly don't have to. So I'm not going to keep this pregnancy. I I did want kids for a really long time. And keep in mind I'm pregnant right now. So the emotions are running high. Uh, and with my ex-husband, we tried to get pregnant for about a year and couldn't. Nothing was wrong with me, nothing was wrong with him. We both went through a battery of tests to make sure. My mom was dying of cancer at that time, and that was part of the reason that I wanted to try then. We had planned on waiting a little bit, but she really wanted grandkids. And I really wanted to give them to her, but that didn't happen. And looking back, it was a blessing because we got divorced. So, having, I know that children are a gift and children in and of themselves are a blessing. And I love kids. I have spent the better part of my life taking care of kids, whether I was nannying for many, many years. I was a preschool teacher and then I was an actual teacher. Not that preschool teachers aren't actual teachers. That came out wrong. Look at me trying to be so political about how you call a preschool teacher, but I'm also going to be talking about abortion, which is so upsetting and people feel so strongly about, rightfully so, whichever side of that you're on. I personally believe in a woman's right to choose. And my feeling, and I want to talk about this because I saw a doctor today and she was fantastic. She was absolutely amazing. So I'll put the information for where I went and the doctor I saw in the show notes. But she was so wonderful, resourceful, kind. And she came into it, not knowing who I am and not knowing how I was going to be feeling about this emotionally. Luckily for me, it is emotional. I'm not going to sit here, I'm going to get choked up again. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not a super easy choice. I know that for myself and Mark, having kids, period, is just something that we have both decided and talked about that is not for us. Now I know that can change and circumstances change and things happen and all of that. I don't I don't believe in, at least for myself, bringing a child into the world because, well, oops, I wasn't careful enough. And even though we don't really want to have a kid, we're going to have it anyways. I don't want to do that. And I don't think for me that's not the right way to bring a kid into the world. And I've thought a lot about bringing a kid into the world because, like I said, me and my ex tried for a full year unsuccessfully. So, where was I going with this? The doctor, so she didn't know how I was going to be feeling, and I was fine. I'm mostly fine, as I've already tried, kind of cried twice. But so she was very cautious with the way that she was talking to me. She wanted to make sure that I knew she wasn't judging me, and that it was like she was trying to keep me from feeling ashamed. And I said that to her. I said, like, we're made to feel ashamed of this. Like, this is something that I should be ashamed about or embarrassed about or feel guilty about, according to a lot of the world that we live in, a lot of our society. I think, especially right now, a lot of our society causes women to feel like, unless you were, I mean, I'm just gonna have to be blunt here. If I'm not gonna be politically correct, I'm not gonna be politically correct. So let's go with it. If you're not, if you're not raped, if it's not rape or incest, then you shouldn't be allowed to have an abortion because that's on you. Be more careful. You weren't careful. And now what? You have to suffer the consequences, even if you don't want a child. The child should suffer the consequences with a parent that didn't really want to have a kid. No, some people think yes, and that is, again, similar to like the COVID vaccine and stuff. I do feel more strongly about this, but I completely respect people who feel that abortion is wrong and and they don't agree with it. That's okay. That is not how I feel. And I think that everyone should be allowed to have their opinion, but I think that it's really horrific that women often feel ashamed if they weren't raped or it wasn't incest, but they had sex with somebody and the condom broke. They didn't use there's a million, I don't need to get into all the reasons and ways that this can happen. And a lot of people would probably say, like, well, you're an adult, you're in a loving relationship, you have a home, like you have, you could raise a child. Why wouldn't you? There's a ton of reasons why I wouldn't. First and foremost, because Mark has never wanted kids. So he's always been solid in that decision. For me, it is more complicated because I did want kids for the better part of my life. Um, After my mom died, I got divorced and changed careers and changed my whole life. And I very much decided that I did not want children because I was single. So I think that a big part of having children doesn't have to be, you can, go to a sperm bank and have a child on your own, which is, I think, very admirable and wonderful. But for me, a big part of having children would be being with somebody that I wanted to have children with. And I wasn't at the time. And for a long time, I just couldn't even fathom having children without my mom being here. Um, the other day, cleaning out, I talked about how much I purged and cleaned stuff out, and I came across this bin with this bag of baby clothes that my mom had left for me and left one for my sister before she died, so that if either of us had kids, we would have something to give them that she had picked out for them. And I don't know what to do with it. uh, all of my friends are done having kids. No one in my family is going to have kids.
but I can't get rid of it. And obviously, it makes me quite emotional because there is still a small part of me that thinks, oh, I would love to be a mom. But there's a much bigger part of me that thinks, I would not love to be a mom. I get overly emotional about a rat crossing the road or the rats that live in my backyard. I can't even begin to imagine how I would handle the incredibly deep and enormous and emotions that come with having a child and how much you love that child. It's something that obviously I can't understand. Um, for people who have a problem with the mouth sounds, I apologize. I'm trying to step away from the mic when I drink water, and crying obviously is doesn't make for good podcasting. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what I wanted to. I guess I just wanted to voice my feelings in case anyone else out there is or has recently gone through something like this, that they shouldn't have to feel ashamed. I shouldn't have to feel ashamed. This is the right decision for me. My pregnancy is so early. I'm barely 4 weeks pregnant, so much so that she can't even actually help me do anything right now. I have to wait, which seems actually horrible. I think that seems worse to me than, I can understand I can't understand, but I can respect people who disagree with abortion. I absolutely can understand and do agree with that, like a very like late term abortion shouldn't be a thing. Like at a certain point it shouldn't be a thing. And I don't know what point medically, emotionally, like I'm not trying to get into that because I don't know. I'm not well educated enough on that. However, yes, absolutely at a certain point it shouldn't be permitted. This is at the point that I'm at, it should. It's very, very, very early, but it's not. The law says that she has to see something on an ultrasound in order to like has to see a specific thing, like a sac of something. So she can tell I'm pregnant, but she can't see that sac, so she can't do anything to help me right now. And, I can just hear, and this is maybe my like recent negative intrusive thoughts that are coming up, but I can hear people being like, well, you could have it. And there's so many people who want children who can't have them. Yeah, that is true. And that is tragic. I can't imagine the pain that must feel, really wanting to have your own children and not being able to, or just have children and not being able to. But there are tons of children who need homes, tons. And after I did get divorced after my mom died, and I was like, I'm not having kids. That is not something that is in the cards for me. I did always think, well, maybe I'll adopt though at some point, like later in life, I'll adopt because I love kids and there are so many kids who need a good, safe, loving home. And I would, I would love to do that at some point, perhaps. But for me, with my mental health history, um, and just where I'm at in life, it's not what's right for me. And I know that. It doesn't make it less sad though. And I think that's sorry, guys. Maybe that's what I wanted to talk about is that I know that not having this baby is the right decision for me. And it's also sad and a little scary. What if I change my mind down the road? Well, it'll be too late. I'm old. I can't even believe that this happened. I didn't even think it was possible at my age. I know it's possible at my age. I'm in my early 40s, but I thought it was pretty unlikely, especially because I'm pretty careful. But yeah, it's I think it can be both. It can be not right for me, And it can also be a little bit sad and a little bit heartbreaking. And I think that too often people don't plan to get pregnant, but they do. And maybe they don't really want kids, but they're pregnant. And then at least for me, it's really easy to like kind of romanticize it. What you see in the movies, the good parts I've seen of having kids or being a nanny. When I was a nanny to this infant and a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old all at once. And it was a lot, but I got to go home at the end of the night and sit in a nice quiet house by myself. I wasn't up in the middle of the night doing feedings. My body didn't completely change. My emotions and hormones didn't completely get out of whack. Like I never saw any of those parts. So it is easy to think about the cute baby clothes in the nursery and holidays, like me and Mark and a little baby at the holidays would be so sweet. I would love that. But there's so much more that goes into it. And and this is not necessarily me justifying it. I don't have to justify it. I don't feel that way at all. This is my choice and it's what's right for me. But it's such a complicated choice sometimes, and there's so much that goes into it. And I think that's easy to forget. And it's easy to feel guilty or shameful. And and I shouldn't. I don't want to feel that way, and I don't want anyone else to feel that way. I said something to the doctor. I said, sorry guys, I sat down and I was like, I have so much to say on this. And now I've ended up getting a little bit kind of lost in the emotion of it, I think. But ultimately, I said to the doctor about, we're made to feel like we should be ashamed. And I said, and I said to her, I said, I also understand like this is not a form of birth control. And it's not, I'm not using it like that. This was an accident. And she said, no, it's not, but it kind of is. She's like, it's not, especially at your stage where you're barely 4 weeks pregnant, like it's not the same as the morning after pill, but it's not worlds away. Now, I mean, again, my personal opinion, I feel like I have to say that 1,000 times, which is probably so irritating. But no, should an abortion be birth control? No. Should you be able to go, month after month getting an abortion? No, I don't even know if you are allowed to do that, but I would hope not. Birth control is birth control. I personally I mean, again, overshare. Here we go. I was on birth control for the better part of my life until my mom died of liver cancer, not from drinking, from hepatitis C. She had hepatitis C most of her life. I don't know. I don't even know if she knows how she contracted it, but like when she was in her 20s, I believe. And there was never a treatment for it. So she never did anything about it. And a lot wasn't known about it. So she never treated it. And then it gave her cancer. Prior to that, several years prior to that, she had breast cancer. And it was what they called estrogen induced breast cancer. And we saw so many different doctors. And I wasn't even living in Tucson. I was living in Atlanta at the time, but I came home for long stretches. And so just when I was home, we saw lots of doctors. I can't even imagine the rest of the time. But the doctors said absolutely her breast cancer could have been caused or could have just been exacerbated by the fact that she took birth control for many, many years. Now I'm pro birth control, so I'm not saying like people shouldn't take birth control at all. For me, I immediately stopped taking birth control because I was taking, I know you can now get like an IUD or you can get
non-hormonal, is that what it's called? Non-hormonal birth control. So yeah, yeah. And also regular hormonal birth control. And certainly it doesn't cause breast cancer in every person who takes it, obviously. But it did in my mom. And that was way close to home and too close to home for me. So I immediately stopped taking birth control at that point and vowed to never go back on it. I hated the way it made me feel, anyways. I was always trying to find the right birth control because one, made me gain weight. One gave me a little bit worse mood swings. One, they all have a different side effect. I always hated it. So this was just a good reason for me to stop taking it. And I've never taken it since. Uh, why was I telling you that? I guess to further explain how I am in the situation I'm in right now. Um, but I guess maybe I wanted to tell myself a little bit it's okay to be in this situation, and also anybody else who is or who recently has been in this situation, and that it's okay to not feel totally okay. I feel silly a little bit being sad about it because it's my fault. It was an accident, but ultimately, my fault, mine and Mark's fault. And B, I've made my choice. I know what I'm going to do. I know that that's the right choice for me. So it feels like I don't have the right to be upset or sad or feel any type of way about this except for just like, well, it's unfortunate. I kind of fucked up and now I got to take care of it. But that's just not the case. That's not the case for me, at least. And I don't think that that has to be the case. So perhaps I just wanted to put that out there that life is hard sometimes. Um, I got a great comment. First of all, I'm not going to say all the wonderful comments that I've received on Patreon because you guys know Patreon, if you're listening, that I absolutely love you and unbelievable support. One of my patrons, that sounds so weird. One of somebody who's on Patreon left a comment last week after that Friday episode I put out, the public episode I put out, where I talked about like my weird animal stuff and how it's kind of starting to become a burden in my life. And she had a really interesting and really insightful take on why that might be happening, which I'm going to talk about with my therapist this week. And I just am so grateful for the support of this show, but for the support of me, really, honestly. And then I got this comment on YouTube that I just love. It says, "Oh, bless. Sounds like you're in a dip. Hang on in there." From someone who's on the other side of the big M, I assume menopause, it's okay. It's okay to be pissed off with things. To be honest, it's nothing to do with menopause. Perhaps age gives us the experience to bravely voice our views. Don't be sad. You sound like a wonderful, talented, caring human being, and I do enjoy your podcasts, even when you were having a moment pouring out your heart. I was pottering in the garden when I listened to this one and just wanted to share a pot of tea and say, you know what? Shit happens, but you will be fine. I'm a Brit and don't do therapy like you Americans. Just dust yourself off, deep breath. Things really will work out. And in the meantime, procrastinating, wardrobe cleansing, etc. is cool. Whatever works for you. Sorry for sniffling into the microphone there. So thank you. The name is Andy Truman is the YouTube name of the person who left that. So thank you for leaving that because it made me smile. It made me laugh. And this stupid $15 watch from Amazon rings. I have to figure out how to turn that off. I literally can't. Uh, Anyways, it's a good reminder that shit happens, everything will be fine. It's a reminder that I think we all need to hear sometimes, and certainly one that I need to hear because this morning, honestly, I took that test and I thought, there's no way. I'm old. Mark is old. We were not trying. We were actively not trying. And and there you go. And so there really I just had to laugh at first. And I just thought, oh my God. I actually was letting the dogs out right before I took the test. And I thought, I talk to my mom sometimes. Yes, my dead mom. And I said, Mom, please don't let me be pregnant. Please make sure I'm not pregnant. Like that would just be the cherry on top of this kind of shit show of a moment that I'm having in life right now. And, again, oh, woe is me. I'm having a career crisis or I'm poor. Lots of people are poor right now. Lots of people can't afford their own lives like me. Like, you know, I I'm not invalidating how I feel right now, but I also want to be clear that like I understand it's not the end of the world. I didn't just find out that I'm dying. I didn't get evicted and have to live on the street. Like it could be way, way, way worse. So I'm having a moment in life that feels hard and uncomfortable to me. And I realize it's not the end of the world. But I was like, God, being pregnant would just be like the cherry on top of this bullshit moment that I'm having in life. So please let it not happen. And then when I looked at the test, I was just like, no fucking way. Just, okay, fine. This is what's happening. And like I said, I really debated coming on here and talking about this, which sounds silly because, again, I refer back to the breakup episodes. And if you are new, well, they're only on Patreon now because Mark was uncomfortable with them. But when he broke up with me, I took to the microphone like every night and just sobbed and tried to work through that breakup with my microphone and with you guys. They were very personal. So I don't know why I debated sharing this, but I did. I don't think I said everything that I wanted to say. I certainly didn't say it in the most eloquent way, but I wanted to put it out there. And maybe someone else is experiencing this and will feel better because of hearing me putter through trying to talk about it. And if it has completely offended you, I do apologize. Not from the decision I've made, but I don't ever want to offend anyone. And yeah, I probably have a lot more that I could say on this, but I feel a bit emotionally spent at the moment. And I don't know. I guess I would. Part of me wants to say I would love to hear your thoughts, and then part of me feels like, nah, maybe this is something that I don't need anyone's thoughts on because it's already hard enough for me. Um, and I am, comfortable in my opinion and decision and choices. Yeah. Sorry for the long pause. Trying to collect my thoughts if there are any more of them in this feeble brain of mine. Oh my goodness. But I will say I appreciate the reaction and kind words, at least on Spotify. Again with the sniffling into the microphone. Please excuse me. On Spotify, Lee always leaves comments, and I'm so grateful for them. So kind. And Tito has left comments as well in the past. Lovely. Both of them have left lovely comments, and these were no different on this episode last week. No bodies, just baggage. Tito said, I love Margot. She's so open and transparent. A lot of us can identify with her. My biggest fear is she will stop podcasting. Did I already fucking read these? No. These were 2 days ago. I couldn't have read these. Oh no, I think I just responded to his comment. God. Guys, I thought I was going into menopause, and instead I found out I'm pregnant. What is happening in the world? And Lee said, Margot, your life matters more than you can imagine. My wish for you is that you stop being so hard on yourself. And just, you guys are very encouraging and kind. It's a lovely reminder that there are such kind people out there and that we are not all that different. Because sometimes I get on here and I start talking and I think, what the fuck am I talking about? Do I sound like a weirdo, a psycho, a mental head case, a complainer? Like, all of the questions I question myself. And then I think, well, fuck it. Maybe I am a complainer today, but this is where I'm at. So I'm going to share it. And some of these comments, all of these comments are a great reminder that none of us are that different from each other. Well, at least if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't immediately turned it off, I'd imagine that all of us are not that different from each other and maybe dealing with different things, but similar emotions. And life is fucking hard sometimes. And it's awesome sometimes as well. And I know that, and it's always changing. So if it's not awesome right now, I have to believe that sometime soon it will be awesome again. And yeah, the comments it's nice to hear the nice comments. There's definitely on reviewers, they're harsh. People who leave comments on Apple Review are not fucking around. They are here for the true crime, only the true crime. They do not want any other chit chat. They do not like the personal side stories, which also it's hard because a lot of people that I think that are leaving these comments on Apple are starting the podcast now. I don't know why or how they're coming across it now, but they're listening to older episodes where it's me and Jenna. There's a lot more chit chat, a lot more intro bullshit. We were figuring it out still. Yeah, this one's funny. Snooze Fest. I tried hard to listen. This is last week. I tried hard to listen to 3 or 4 episodes, but unfortunately, it's not for me. It's quite boring and puts me to sleep. So if you're looking for that, this is the podcast for you. I like that they cover lesser known cases, but I won't be listening anymore. There's a lot of distractions like the dog barking in the background. Even their side conversations are kind of a snooze. Too bad. I wanted to like the podcast. Well, fair enough. Boring, I can't. I mean, I don't know how to fix being boring. And then this person, this is like a week or two ago, Eloise Campfield said, when you have to update on the next episode, everything you got wrong on the previous, you're a joke. Good try for a podcast, though. Thanks, Eloise. We don't do that anymore. But I disagree. I think that people get things wrong all the time. We are not Dateline, and we have never pretended to be. So sometimes I get things wrong. Sometimes the internet gets things wrong. And I'd rather be honest about that and correct it than just pretend like it never happened. However, we do not do that anymore. And that's it. I'm not going to read any more comments. There were other good comments. Anyways, overall, I just want to say thank you for letting me share these bits of my life. Like I said, I did record a true crime episode. So I will either put that out right after I put this out, or I will put it out first thing tomorrow. But I am trying to not combine the personal and the crime out of respect for the victims and their families, and out of respect for you guys, because I know that some of you are not here for this life talk stuff. And on that note, I think I'm going to sign off. I don't want to stick my foot in my mouth too much. I've probably already lost some of you. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about it. I I don't think it's necessarily talked about enough. Well, all right, I'm going to stop. You know me. If you know me, you know that I get to a certain point where it's like I'm just kind of talking myself in circles, and I'm trying not to do that. So I wish I had more eloquent, insightful things to say about this, but that's what I'm going through right now, and I'm going to handle it, and I'm going to be okay, and everything's going to be fine. And just like Andy on YouTube said, I'm going to dust myself off, and everything's going to work out just fine. Yeah, it's just a weird time in life at the moment. And hopefully it's not for you. It's a weird time for me right now. But I hope that you, whoever you are that's listening, are having a great time in life right now. It's summer and we're alive. So that should be enough to celebrate a great time. Okay. Yeah, I'm done. Love you guys so much. Thank you for listening to my life update. That's it. Okay. Bye. Love you. Bye.
Death by Southwest is hosted by Jenna Schneider and Margot Carmichael.
Executive produced by Margot Carmichael.
Produced by Jenna Schneider.
Audio editing and sound design by Margot Carmichael.
Music by Soundstripe.
And a special thanks to Edward R. Murrow for letting us borrow his famous sign-off phrase, good night and good luck.